Welcome to this installment of Cocktail Conversations and Lessons in Philanthropy, where we give it to you straight, no chaser. Why? Because it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
For
I
sure.
am joined by one of my home skillets. I don't even know if people still say that, but I say it sometimes. A home skillet, Shantelle S. LadyBug Brumfield, and she is the founder and executive director of Believe in What You Dream. And we're going to get into this here conversation. Welcome, Shantelle. How are you, doll?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's always good to be in your presence because it's always going to be some gems dropped. And it's just the perfect moment to be able to do this right now, especially with a conversation like this.
Yes. So let's get into it. So I shared what I was looking to do with Cocktail Conversations and Lessons in Philanthropy. Just a quick check-in, sisterly conversation or even brotherly. There'll be brothers on here. But we're navigating this trajectory of working in nonprofits and philanthropy together. And I don't miss any opportunity to learn a jewel, a tidbit, or a trick of the trade from anybody in the sector, older, younger, whatever the case may be. I feel like the Lord, I'm a believer. I know everybody watching ain't a believer, but I'm a believer.
I
And
am,
I
girl.
believe
You
the
know I
Lord can
am.
use anybody to drop something in your spirit that can really level set you along your journey. And that's why I started doing this. And from the first time we talked, I was like, whoa, wait, Lord, thank you for this sister here. She's got something to say and she's a force to reckon with. And with that, I just want to welcome you and I want you to, tell us what you're drinking because I blended this fine pineapple. Look at this workmanship, y'all. Look at that. 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 A
It
fresh
does look good.
pineapple. Wait, look at it again. Behold this. I want you to behold it. A pineapple whiskey sour because I've been on this fruit thing lately. What you got?
So, because I know what we were getting ready to talk about, I wanted to make sure it was all around encompassing and special for the moment. So, one of the things that we're going to talk about when we get into it is how my journey led me to East Africa. But from that, I want to introduce you to what I'm going to be drinking today. So, this is by Washera Wines.
Okay.
This is their cab. As you see, there's a rhino on it. So what's special about this wine brand is that the founder, her name is Dr. Chris Washera. She's originally from East Africa. She's the first Kenyan American winemaker. And when you open the bottles, you go on a wine safari with her. And on this safari for a cab is a rhino. The rhino is special to this story just because it's symbolic of being able to be the spirit of who is going to protect the weak or therefore those who can't really do much for themselves. And since we are talking about philanthropy and our jobs, really as we are standing in position to champion things that we really care about and things that matter for us, I thought it was a perfect time to bring out a bottle like this. So I'll be drinking a cab.
Yes, I knew. Listen, y'all don't even know what I feel across the screen listening to. This is a dynamic sister and woman of God. And if you are watching this and you aren't touched by the time this conversation is over, I don't know what to tell you. I don't. So go on and pour up, sis.
I just poured up. Let's cheers.
Cheers. Salute.
We get into it. Salud.
Hey, and I love that is a African sister, black business, black brand that you're repping on here.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And I think as I was kind of sharing with you as we were getting ready to come in, one of the things that I do as a way to really share my journey and my story, I believe in building community and capacity in a way where it's led off of the story, because that is the interpersonal connection that you get good people to come along with you on your journey. And so I do sip and stitches where these bottles come inside these bags that I got done in Kenya, working with some of the girls that we've been working with. And you get this bag and you get the yarn, and it's our way of being able to just share the story. But now when you walk away, you have a part of the story with you. And then you make a decision if it's something that you want to carry on, if you want to do it yourself, if you want to host a party yourself, if you want to host a group. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce you to Believe in What You Dream. So Believe in What You Dream is a nonprofit really dedicated to helping women and girls discover their superpowers. We do so by providing social emotional learning tools and trainings that really are helping them better process their feelings, manage their emotions, and ultimately build strong relationships long term across the globe, across the internet. Clearly, it's a space where we're able to do it, right? And that's wherever we stand. And I use crochet as a vehicle really to teach the lesson between thoughts and actions, mostly because it doesn't matter who the subject matter is. You know, if you're ever teaching something, you always want to go to the base bottom level, what you can get to first. And if I'm thinking about a third grader, a 30-year-old, an 83-year-old, the lesson is and being able to use crochet in that way really connects us back to our ancestors and really gets us back to that healing journey that we're all really, really, really trying to get to. Even though the reason why I jumped into going into nonprofit work, my background, I'm a scientist, and my work was built around cancer and around, the different disparities that kind of happen from the illness itself, where cancer itself is really a byproduct of things that are going kind of like unaddressed, and I think that I just got to a point where, as a scientist and as the one who's spending time in the lab and doing research, I just got kind of sick of hearing women in particular say, oh, well, cancer runs in my family. It's just like, no, it's the trauma. It's the trauma that runs in your family. And the inability to address it and find tactile tools that are going to allow you really to get down to the core of what's going on is why we're in this place now. And when thinking about how early it needs to start, for me, it starts with girls that I'm working with now. I'm working with 11 to 18-year-olds, and we're spending the time to really, really dive in and hone in on what the day-to-day life looks like. When you ask me a question about, what's the biggest lesson that I've learned? The biggest lesson was, it's okay to be ambitious. But in this space, you have to have a plan that's connected to a specific goal. Otherwise, people can't get behind it. It's like walking into McDonald's and looking at a menu. It's like so many different things on there, but what got you through the door had nothing to do with everything on the menu, but it was something specific. And that's any restaurant you go to. That's, I just use McDonald's as an example because everyone has a McDonald's story. But when looking at that journey, any of you all out there who are executive directors yourselves, you understand like the pull, the weight you have because you have this huge desire to make a difference and you get to see and you've thought about a solution to provide, but now it's your job to champion this space where other people can help you because, by the way, you can't do this by yourself.
Oh, no.
Not if you want to make a real impact.
It's a big mantle, and you're absolutely right. The question on the table being, what's your lesson? I asked that of all of my guests. And there's a couple of things you said that I want to react to. Having a goal. When I got into this line of work some 20 plus years ago, 21, 22 years ago, I didn't really have that goal. I'm going to be honest. I didn't know that I was going to be a fundraiser. I didn't know that I was going to be doing work that's changing lives and changing communities. But I did. Well, let me back up. I kind of knew that I wanted to do something from the time I was 5. I think I told you this story about when I was 5 and I was walking through East Oakland, because you're from Vallejo and know Vallejo, Oakland. And I saw people laid out on the streets because when did we come up in Oakland? And you can attest that what I be saying is no lies, no cap, about what Oakland, what places in the Bay Area looked like in the 80s. It was like freaking almost a third world country, people coming down from highs and drugs everywhere, crack vials. And my mother is walking me to the bus stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember some man was laid out by a store, and the corner store had bars, and it was a corner store next to a church. The church door had bars on its windows and stuff, just to give you an idea of what I'm seeing, what I'm walking by on the way to the bus stop. And I asked my
I wish
mother,
I could tell you that things are different, because it's not.
it's not. And
The
I asked
level
my
of
mother,
homelessness, because what you're talking about right now had to do with drugs, and
oh
it
yeah,
hadn't got to the point where people were losing their properties and losing their family,
right.
family homes. That hadn't happened yet. But now we're, 20, 30 years later, and now what's going on is that people are making themselves residencies on corners inside tents.
It's sad. And, looking at that and looking what the war on drugs, and I'm not even going to get into how that came, folks listening, the story. And if you don't know, you better ask somebody or do some research about how this was manufactured and perpetrated in Black communities, and it decimated our families and our homes. But what I did know, although I was 5 years old and I didn't necessarily have a goal at that time, was, Mom, why is this man sleeping outside? And my mother explained to me, I guess the way you explain poverty to a 5-year-old kid, she said some people have things and others don't. And there's a lot of people that don't. And we literally had to walk past and almost walk over this man to get to where we were going. Fast forward, I carried that compassion and care and love for humanity. And I never knew that one day it would burgeon into this career where I've raised millions of dollars for homelessness, and people were able to get off the streets and get clean and sober and get into housing, or people who had lost a job. Who hasn't lost a job and found yourself the paycheck?
Especially now. Come on.
Now.
We're in a gig economy. This is no longer that time where, like, oh, you find yourself a good government job and stay there. No, this is not that anymore. And the other thing that we're dealing with is the fact that all of those things really like a byproduct of decision making. Sometimes you're not the one in the position to make the decisions, but it's a byproduct of it, right?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
The reason why I know that you've been so, successful in your position and what you're doing, because you have something to pull from. Most people who try to do this type of work, if they don't have enough experiences to pull from, there's gaps. And the whole point of being in philanthropy work, and why the space was even created, was to fill the gaps for systems that are ignoring different spots. Absolutely. And if you are going to go in and create a nonprofit or create a space where you're supposed to be providing solutions that are going to fill gaps, and you're taking on that same mindset of the perpetual problem, you're not doing anything.
Hello.
So that's why going back to having a goal and having a plan to go with that goal is important. Because if you don't have the goal and have, like a plan that goes along with it, now when people who are interested in helping, when they come to you, you don't even know what to say on where you need help. You need help, but you haven't identified what that area is, because you haven't spent enough time and just like being specific with what you're looking for.
What you're talking about is lived experience, but not only that, having that goal and being intentional about it. You'll be more intentional about how you approach your resource procurement function, your ability to build and marshal resources and partnerships. It's like if somebody is operating an organization and they don't have any strategic vision or any a specific goal, as you said, they're looking at the menu offerings at the store and don't necessarily know what they want. You don't necessarily know how to engineer strategy that will warrant the kind of investment you really need to move that thing.
Right, because people are going to look at like, am I going to be able to trust this person with my money if they're not even organized on something small that they're planning on doing, that they're passionate about?
Absolutely. It's a difference between having that goal, right? Knowing where you're trying to go and being able to explain that, right? Because you're in the business of marshaling partnerships. You can get stronger, more resource-rich partnerships year over year with a strategic goal versus just looking at things short-sightedly from year.
Right. Yep. And Honestly, like, I had to learn the hard way, but I didn't have to learn a long journey to it. It was just more or less like I was sitting back talking to one of my closest friends who's actually one of my business partners. And he's like, you need to get focused and understand what it is that you're actually going to do. Pick a group. You can't, this is not for everybody all at once. And I chose to go the route of girls because the story that you just told, walking with your mom down the street. And that was then, but it's still a part of the journey now, except for now we have to throw in Web 3.0 and all of the influences from the attention market. The attention economy is running this world and running girls to a point where they're incapable of even just thinking just about what they want to do in a day, let alone be in a space where they can learn. And so being able to give them tools that can help them just better process their space. There's trauma that's happening at home. There's things that are going on that they may be fearful even say anything because they're not not quite sure who to tell. Same journey of being in that space of not having a plan and identifying where you want to go. Same thing is true for now. Add on the fact that you have the lack of maturity and lack of experience of going along with it. Where does that leave them? And so looking at that being the case, I chose to take it into a space where I can prove that my system, the curriculum I was creating worked by going into a place where I didn't know the language or the culture. I went into Africa and I took the time as the science mind of just looking at, okay, where are the similarities and where are the differences? And that's when I discovered like all of the other things that go along with it. So the lack of light and energy, looking at some of the self-care mechanisms that are just not present, not having water, not having light. And you think about all the things that happen in the dark and then creating that space where, I know I'm bringing good energy. So I already know that the energy is going to be right, but had to prove that it was actually helping. And it's not me. It's what can you, create that can be packaged, that can be given to other people that you can train to, and also get the same KPIs of it, of being able to actually provide a solution. Because if you walk away and there's a change, that's what impact is. Not creating a space that requires them now to be attached to the ability to have it the same way every time, right? Where this person is removed or this thing is removed, you can't have it. That's not change. That's not impact. And so creating an impact in third world country and testing it multiple different times, along with bringing it in here and understanding, okay, what are the components that are key? The key to my program working was the fact that we work with case managers and educators and looking at spaces that are controlled spaces where education institutions, period, are controlled. It's an institution. We already know that every year they're going to have a group of girls that are rolling in, and we know we can at least follow them for a good 3 to 4 years. That's important. We need to make sure that we can watch it and make sure that there's something that they have to look up to and be rewarded for of being their time. Versus I'm looking at other programs where I'm seeing they're paying and giving incentivizing people to show up. And it's just like, okay, you do that. The moment you stop paying, they're going to stop showing up, period. Create something that's going to be for them. For us, we're looking to take girls with us on our trips. This is an international, program that we have. Like one of the things that I didn't mention that over the course of the last 6 years that we've been just testing it, our impact number is 8,000 women and girls, where we worked and those are direct, like we work directly with 8,000 women and girls, and who really knows the actual impact of us putting, solar in schools where there's 3,000 kids present, where we only work with 30 at that school, or, the lessons they took away and were able to share them right away because culturally everything is shared out, right? You're so excited about something that you just learned. Of course, your natural instinct is to go through and share it. And it's that type of energy that creates what we call our superpowers. That superpower is magnanimous. That could be just spread all over across the world. And when I look at that being the gift that God has dropped into my spirit, that came from spending time with my grandmother and her friends.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. This community building, you talked a moment ago about the crocheting and how you build communities and there's opportunity for storytelling. That's how I learned how to cook. And I'm, quite a cook, but that's how and I joke about it, but that's how I learned how to cook. That's how I learned about some of my family's lineage. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I learned so many of the things that I've learned in that folklore, in between grandma's knees, in between my mom's knees, getting my hair cornrowed as a little girl.
Exactly. And then to find out when you get it on continent and you start traveling in some of the, diaspora, you figure out that a lot of the things that you're used, like for instance, I remember going to Nigeria the first time, and at night I'm tying my headscarf, and I turn around to look at one of the girls that, I end up meeting along the way, is now my sister. We tied her headscarves the exact same way. She's never lived in the States.
And that's not something I
And
don't even remember where I learned along the way how to take care of my hair over the years. Like, how you think about stuff, but because I probably tie my headscarf like you, but I didn't ever see my mama wear a headscarf in the house growing up, or grandma. They had jerry curls, and they wasn't. I'm not trying to be funny, y'all that are watching, but I mean, they had jerry curls were popping in the 80s. My mama had her little S curl high top, and she wasn't wearing a scarf, but I probably tie my scarf the same way you and sis do,
Mhm.
instinctively.
Yeah. And so it's those little things, being able to, like, we can tell the story, but it's a whole nother thing when you have your experience. And so looking at being able to take girls, like we work with girls from, here in the States, whether it's in California to Detroit to DC, and then looking at those that we work with and, outside of the country, whether it be Mexico. I mean, we launch programs in 6 countries. So Mexico, Nigeria, Morocco, Kenya, Tanzania, working on South Africa right now, and a program in Ghana. And who else knows? But the goal is to be able to take this collective of girls that we're working with and ultimately let them meet sooner than college would have happened.
Right.
So it can just blow their minds in the way where, one of the things that you said earlier is just like, you made it through. You made it through because somewhere along the line, someone told you that you could think bigger than your current circumstances.
That's right. Amen.
You were able to tap into what, again, I call it superpower, but your inner confidence, your self-awareness, to know that there's got to be more in the world that's available than what is right now.
What's in
And
front of
that right there is what believing what you dream is all about.
I love
Taking
that.
them to a space where, you're visualizing, not always are you able to put your dreams or things into words. Sometimes it's just a thought, and it's esoteric, and you're in your space.
Right.
And when you start speaking to people, sometimes it's like, okay, well, I don't know what you're talking about. But it made sense to you. But being able to hold on to that and understand that it's yours and you're not meant to throw that away. So we do dream catchers to just let them know you got something to wake up and go to sleep to, every day, that's yours. That doesn't require anybody from the outside, but that's yours.
Validation.
It's there.
Yeah.
Right.
Anybody.
And then the journaling process is being able to, we call it journaling your journey, not just journaling, but writing your goals and writing down what's going on, and really putting yourself in a space where you know how to create a plan, where it's not just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, but actually executing on it and going back and understanding, okay, what part of that didn't work? And moving forward, if you were to do this again, who actually do you need to get help from? And so if someone were to come to you, like, what is your call? So one of the other things about creating a plan and being specific is actually putting a dollar on it. Like, things change when you put a dollar on it,
Yeah.
right?
Back
So it wasn't
attack.
enough that, we're helping girls, women and girls around the world, but I'm saying we're impacting the lives of 100,000 dream girls by 2025. It's going to cost us $20 million to do it.
You better come on. I'm still going to Africa. I need some deets because I'm going. I've committed to going, and I'm going. I have to tell whoever, I got a mission. I'm going on a mission.
Yes.
As folks call it, or whatever I need a sabbatical because this is meaningful work.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of you, and I'm glad that I could get you, on cocktails and convos because this is the stuff that we don't talk about in our day-to-day when we're fundraising, when we're networking. And I just kind of want to go back to the basics for folks. And I'm sure that something you said has resonated with somebody. Tell folks how to find you that might want to connect.
Okay, so one thing what I'm going to say before that part is that I'm just going to say if you're out there, you're watching it, you're listening, and you have a big idea, go after it and don't let nobody stand in your way. Because literally, there's going to be people standing in your way. I mean, literally, my first trip to Africa, well, my first 3 trips actually, I footed all of them for my retail brand because people were looking at me, oh, you're going to do what? Okay. And it's much different when you come back and say, okay, this is what I did.
Right.
Right. Had never been to the country before, didn't know nobody in Nigeria. People say that I was crazy for selecting Nigeria because they're like, you made it back, you're not married, and all this other stuff that goes with it. And just like, I went on a purpose and being able to not be afraid of the numbers, right? So 100,000 Dream Girls, 2025, and $20 million. There's not one person I've come across up until this point who said that I'm not going to raise it 20 because I speak with conviction because I know I could do it.
That's right.
Right. And now at this point, I need other people who believe in that same thing to be able to get there. So if you're looking for more information about Believe in What You Dream, you visit believeinwhatyoudream.org. We're on every single social platform under Believe in What You Dream. We have a few campaigns up. We have the Colorful Dreamer, where we're working with a organization in Mexico where we're doing natural dyeing and showing girls how to respect the environment, eco-friendly fashion in a way that is going to pay homage to the ancestors through crocheting and the natural ancestral way of dyeing.
Yes.
We also have our 100,000 Dream Girl campaigns where we are hosting cohorts of 20 girls and schools all over California right now. And we're going to be doing some virtual ones for international until we can get our bodies on planes to do more work. But we're looking at Ghana being the next location that we go to and potentially South Africa as well. So I'll keep you all posted with that. But Kia, thank you so much for taking the time.
No, thank you. And I want to share something with you that just popped in my spirit. I have a scripture pop because I know that you're a believer, woman of God, as I am. It was be ye therefore ready. But that's not the scripture though. That's one of the scriptures because you said, speak your peace with convictions. It's 1 Peter 3:15. But sanctify the Lord in your hearts and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. Be ye ready, Mama. Thank you. She ready.
She ready.
Thank you so much for coming on here and just conversing with a sister. My home skillet, I sure appreciate it. And I know.
And you know what's so good? We felt it before okay, because y'all, let me tell you how Kia and I connected. I hounded her on LinkedIn. It wasn't a whole hound, but
It was not a hound.
It wasn't a whole hound. It wasn't. But I am not, I am that person that, in rooms I walk in, I make sure I meet everybody because I don't meet strangers. I'm a woman of God. So
that's right.
At some point, God meant for us to connect. And if we are in the same space, whether it be in person, online, or on paper, I'm going to make my way to you. And that's exactly what I did. But I felt an energy, like every time the Kia will post something, I'm like, wow, her name keeps on popping up. I'm just going to reach out. So here we are. You just never know.
You never know.
And we've got to do some things.
We are. He always provides the rams in the bush. I'm a believer.
Absolutely.
And people along the journey. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful for, what the Lord is doing in your life. I'm grateful for what you're doing in your agency, your ministry, and just grateful to have a window seat in the journey and play my role in whatever that role is in the journey.
We got work to do, girl.
I'm just really, really grateful for what's unearthing in me in this season. And I'm being really sincere. This is an unscripted episode. I'm just grateful. And for those of you that are watching, that share things that I post or that inbox me, know that while you may not glean as much from my gratitude as I mean when I express it to you, when I say thank you, know that I'm really, really humbled and I'm really grateful because it's been so many years that I prayed and hoped for a community, for support and affirmation from people. And you all do not disappoint. And you know how to shore a sister up on days when I feel like, man, I don't even know where I'm going to pull it from today. I get an encouraging message from Shantelle or from another sister in some state far away or country. And I'm like, yep, I'm in it to win it. I'm up. It might be a no makeup day, but I'm on. You know, and that's just how we roll. So I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I really am.
And so one thing that I would like to do before we leave, this is what I do with all my girls, all the women I meet up with, is that we have a mantra. It's called the Dream Girl mantra. And I'd love for us to do it together if we can.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can. What do I do?
Okay, so repeat after me.
Okay.
I am a dream girl.
I am a dream girl.
Determined.
Determined.
Optimistic.
Optimistic.
Passionate.
Passionate.
Energized.
Energized.
Ready to make my dreams a reality.
Ready to make my dreams a reality.
And there is nothing you can do about it.
And there is nothing you can do about it.
Period.
Period. And
Period.
I want one of those shrugs. Period. I'm gonna buy one.
Okay, girl.
I'm gonna be fabulous in my Zoom meetings. I want a purple one I might even want a yellow one like this. And I'm gonna be fabulous in my Zoom meetings.
Okay.
I'm gonna work by. But I just want to thank you all for watching, because I could go on and on and on. I enjoy my sisterhood. But I just want to thank you, and thank you for tuning in. And until the next episode, cheers.
Cheers.